Back live, it's happened again early this morning for the fifth time in less than a month. Another air traffic controller caught sleeping on the job, this time at a busy regional radar facility that handles high-altitude air traffic for most of Florida and the Caribbean Sea. The sleeper has been suspended, and this latest embarrassment is forcing the FAA to acknowledge finally that there is a widespread systemic problem with controller fatigue, and to promise reshuffled work schedules. Promise them within the next 72 hours. We'll see if we get them. Is that good enough for Gabe Bruno, Executive Director of the FAA Whistleblowers Alliance? What do you say, Gabe?
Hi, Geraldo. Thank you for having me. Well, it's obvious that some action has to be taken. It's still pretty mysterious as to what the FAA is contemplating doing. I'd like to say right up front, though, that had this not come to the attention of the public through the incident that happened at Washington Reagan a couple of weeks ago, the FAA in all likelihood wouldn't be doing anything at this point in time. It's been my experience that most of the time, the only time they ever even act like they're interested in corrective action for safety issues is when the public or the media become aware of it.
Well, we're definitely aware of it now. Let me ask the pilot and former member of the National Air Traffic Control Association, Robert Mark. Robert, thank you, too, for being on the program. You know, if this was wartime and this was a sentry who fell asleep, he'd be shot. We don't advocate that kind of draconian punishment for sleeping air traffic controllers, but is the solution just adding a second air traffic controller in airports that only get 2 or 3 flights a night, and the pay is $170,000 a year extra, all taxpayer funded? Or is the solution alarm clocks when a plane signals in one of these small airports that it wants to land and the air traffic controller is sleeping?
Well, you've got a couple of good questions there, Geraldo. And first of all, another controller isn't necessarily going to fix the problem. I mean, you could very well end up with 2 sleepy controllers. What I have found in our research is that it's the work schedules they use at FAA in air traffic control facilities that are absolutely fatigue-inducing. But they're not new. I mean, as Gabe said just a minute ago, this has been going on for a very, very long time. And the research on what fatigue produce, or what the fatigue producers are, is not new. But FAA has only recently acknowledged that. But as far as the money goes, I think if you do the research too, you're going to find that there are some that make $170,000, but not most of them.
Well, let me ask Gabe. They say, Gabe, that flying commercially is safer than riding an escalator. If that's true, are we making a mountain out of a molehill here?
Well, I don't think we're making a mountain out of a molehill, and it's easy to make that statement statistically that flying is a very safe form of transportation. But just because we didn't have an accident today or the day before doesn't mean that the system itself is safe. There's a lot of things that go into the margin of safety that we talk about to make sure that we don't get to the point where an accident happens.
Back to Robert, shouldn't we fire controllers who fall asleep? Why suspend them and then a week or two the scandal is blown over? I mean, what they're doing is, I don't want the controller sleeping when I'm in the air, particularly with my family.
Well, you can't blame it all on FAA management, and you can't blame it all on controllers either. I mean, it's twofold. I mean, these schedules that we've been talking about that produce fatigue have been in place for decades, and honestly, part of the reason they're there is the controllers like them. It gives them the most time off. It may not be the safest, but it's what they've chosen, and FAA until recently said, we're not going to fix what doesn't seem to be broken.
Got to leave it there. Robert Mark, Gabe Bruno, thank you very much.